In the quiet village of Obi-Oasha, wrapped between red clay hills and whispering palm trees, a tale still travels from hut to hut, passed in low tones, especially when the wind picks up. They speak of a woman named Yadira, a gentle soul, young, kind, expecting her first child. She had everything prepared: hand-woven wraps, blessed beads, and even a carved wooden rattle passed down 4 generations. But then, one market day, word spread that a shop in the city was selling miracle baby items imported from beyond the mountains. New things, clean, shiny, and modern. Yadira, like many, grew curious. Some say she left before dawn, carrying her grandmother's woven basket and a pouch of coins. She promised to return before nightfall. But night came, then morning, then a week, and no one saw her again. All they found near the village edge was her basket, tipped over, empty, soaked in dew, and the faint cries of a baby echoing in the forest, even though she had not yet delivered. The elders say she crossed into a place where names vanish, and babies forget to cry. Now, every time the wind howls near the river, the villagers fall silent, because they remember Yadira. In the village of Obi-Oasha, life followed the rhythm of the earth: soft rains, rooster cries, drum beats in the evening. Mwana, barely 19, moved with grace among it all, her round belly swaying gently as she walked barefoot across the courtyard. She was expecting her first child, and the village buzzed with quiet joy. Her husband, Tamba, was a kind man, tall and strong, with a voice that could calm goats during thunderstorms. Every morning, he brought her fresh cassava roots and whispered prayers over her belly. "May this child be rooted in the ways of our people," he often said, placing his palm over her womb. Mwana spent her afternoons weaving palm mats beneath the shade of the great baobab tree, her fingers quick and sure. As she worked, her grandmother, Mama Dodi, sat nearby telling stories from the old days, about warriors who spoke to lions and babies born with fire in their eyes. Sometimes Mama Dodi would pause and say, "Mwana, remember this: a child who walks too far from the fire forgets the warmth." The women of the compound pounded millet together, laughing and singing songs passed from mother to daughter. They prepared for the coming birth with great care, mixing herbal oils, braiding symbolic charms, and setting aside gourds to catch the baby's first bathwater. At sunset, Mwana sang lullabies to her unborn child, soft melodies shaped like rivers, carrying stories of love, protection, and spirit. Her voice rose and fell with the evening breeze, and the elders often said, "This child will arrive knowing our songs." Children ran barefoot past her hut, their laughter sharp like mango skin. Smoke from clay stoves curled into the air, mixing with the smell of groundnut stew. Life was ordinary, peaceful. Oh, though whispers from the city drifted in now and then, about shiny baby beds, magic bottles, and talking toys, Mwana never paid much mind. She had her rap, her drum, her grandmother's voice. What more did a baby need? But deep in her chest, under the warmth and the calm, a quiet question stirred. Was tradition enough? She didn't know then that this question would carry her further than she ever planned to go. One quiet morning, as the roosters crowed and smoke from cooking fires drifted through the village, Mama Dodi sat outside her hut, the sacred gourd of story water by her side. She called Mwana to sit with her beneath the baobab tree. From a calabash bowl, she pulled out an old faded cloth, earth-colored, frayed at the edges, and smelling faintly of herbs and thyme. She placed it gently in Mwana's lap. "This is the wrap your mother used when you were born," Mama Dodi said softly, "and her mother before her. It has been blessed by midwives, sung over by spirit tellers, and wrapped with the tears of every woman who's carried life into this world." Mwana touched the fabric. It was rough but warm. It pulsed with something quiet, something alive. "Keep this close," Mama Dodi whispered. "Don't go looking for new things in places that don't know your child's name." Big shops sell colors, but not blessings. They sell softness, but not safety. Moana looked down at the cloth, then at the pictures in her neighbor's city catalog. Strollers with wheels, bottles with blinking lights. Everything clean, new, and foreign. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Isn't it okay to have both?" she asked, almost in a whisper. Mama Dodi's gaze was steady. "Modern things are not evil, child. But not everything new is meant for your spirit. The cloth knows your line. The cloth listens." That night, Moana placed the wrap beneath her sleeping mat. She told herself she would use it. She told herself she believed. But as she drifted to sleep, her thoughts wandered to polished glass doors, flashing signs, and a voice inside that quietly asked, "What if this isn't enough?" The rains had just begun to soften the dusty paths when two women arrived in Obiawasha. They wore sunglasses, shiny handbags, and clothes that shimmered like fish scales in the sun. The village children followed them with wide eyes, whispering and giggling. These were girls who had once pounded yam beside the river. But now, they spoke like radios, fast and clipped, each sentence trimmed with city pride. They set up their mats near the market square and unpacked their treasures. Colorful strollers with silver wheels, imported cribs that folded like magic, bottles that glowed in the dark, music-making baby mats that sang lullabies in foreign tongues. Everything smelled like perfume and plastic. A small crowd gathered. Women gasped. Children reached out. Even the elders leaned in, eyes narrowing with quiet interest. Moana stood near the back, arms folded over her growing belly. She didn't want to stare, but her eyes betrayed her. "Isn't this sweet?" one woman cooed, pressing a button on a toy that made cow sounds. "We brought this from the big shop near the city hospital. It's called Baby Royal World. They have everything your baby needs, and more." The other woman turned to Moana and laughed. "You're still using that old rag from your grandmother? Sister, your child deserves better than faded rags." The words hit harder than she expected. Moana forced a smile. "It's just cloth. It works." But something in her chest shifted. That evening, as she washed dishes near the cooking hut, she replayed the women's laughter in her mind. Her fingers paused on the old wrap folded by her sleeping mat. The colors were dull, the edges worn. She told herself it was sacred, blessed, but now it just looked used, worn, not fit for a child born in this new world of talking toys and folding beds. She didn't say it aloud, but for the first time, Moana wondered if her grandmother had been wrong. Tomba had warned her. "The city is loud," he said. "It sells you many things, but not all of them carry a soul. If you go with your eyes open, Moana." She nodded then, pretending to agree. But the seeds of doubt had already rooted in her heart. That night, while Tomba repaired the goat pen and the moon sat high and full, Moana quietly packed her calico bag. She folded her wrapper, tucked in a few coins, and slipped the catalog pages she had saved between layers of cloth. Before dawn, she set out alone. The forest path buzzed with waking birds. The road twisted and widened until red earth turned to gravel, then to tar. As the sun rose, so did the noise. Cars rushed past like angry spirits. Smoke poured from tall machines. Moana clutched her bag tighter and walked on, the weight of the city pressing into her chest. By midday, she reached the shop. Tiny royal feet, the sign read, painted in gold letters with glittering baby footprints dancing along the glass. The door opened by itself with a soft chime, like the sound of a music box. Inside, everything shimmered. Rows of baby cribs, polished and white. Strollers with golden spokes. Blankets softer than feathers. Bottles shaped like pearls. Everything was bright, almost too bright, as if it had been bleached of memory. Screens played videos of smiling babies and spotless mothers. The air smelled like something sweet, but fake, like sugar that never came from cane. But behind the beauty, there was silence. No humming, no footsteps, no voices behind the counters. Only one person stood there. A tall woman in a red dress, her smile too wide, her eyes too still. She didn't blink when Juana entered. She simply said, "You're here. Welcome, Mother." Juana stepped forward slowly. Her hand brushed a blanket that played music when touched. Another shelf offered a smart wrap, guaranteed to keep babies quiet, calm, and perfectly behaved. She stared at it. The fabric was silver, smooth, unreal. She remembered Mama Dodi's wrap, worn and warm. Then she heard the red-dressed woman say, "This one will change everything." Juana didn't reply, but her fingers didn't let go of the silver cloth. Not yet. Not yet. But almost. The woman in red glided across the floor without sound, her feet barely touching the ground. Juana watched closely and blinked. The light hit her from the side, but no shadow followed. None at all. Still, the woman moved with purpose, her red dress swaying like smoke. "You have come far," she said, voice like warm oil, too smooth, too practiced. "You must want only the best." I'm just looking," Juana murmured, her eyes darting between glittering shelves and polished cribs. The woman tilted her head. "You want a quiet baby, a peaceful one who doesn't cry at night or fall sick when the moon is high." Juana didn't answer. The woman reached behind a velvet curtain and brought out a cloth. It shimmered like metal but folded like silk, silver, smooth, flawless. No wrinkles, no threads, no story. "This," she said, "is the miracle wrap, crafted far from here, blessed by hands that know silence and serenity. Your baby will never wail, never wake you, never cause a single moment of worry." Juana felt the coldness of it through her fingertips. "And all I must do is buy it?" she asked. The woman's smile deepened. "There is a ritual, just a simple mark, to bind the promise." She laid out a long receipt on the glass counter. Then from a drawer, she pulled a bowl filled with thick red ink. It smelled faintly like iron. "Dip your fingers," the woman instructed. "Press them here." Juana hesitated. Something deep inside whispered no. A memory, a warning, her grandmother's voice. But the laughter of the city women echoed louder in her head. She dipped her fingers, pressed them to the paper. 5 small prints. Read, "Final." The woman folded the silver wrap and placed it in a bag. Then she looked up, smile stretching just a little too wide. "Congratulations," she whispered. "You've chosen peace." Juana turned to leave, but as she reached the door, she looked back just once. The woman was still smiling, still not blinking, still casting no shadow. The rains came heavy that month, washing the dust from the leaves and cooling the thatched rooftops. Juana's time had come, surrounded by the village women and guided by Mama Dodi's chants. She gave birth under the flickering light of an oil lamp. It was a smooth birth, no screaming, no long hours, just quiet, steady breath, and the strong push of life entering the world. A boy. But something was different. He didn't cry. Not once. He opened his eyes wide, almost too wide, and stared at the roof like he was reading something no one else could see. Then he blinked, just once, and grew still in Juana's arms. "He's perfect," one woman said. "Not even a single tear. The spirits must be pleased." "He's a blessing," another whispered. "So calm, so quiet." Juana smiled, but her heart trembled. At night, she wrapped him in the silver cloth, the miracle wrap, just as the woman in red had shown her. The baby didn't fuss, didn't turn, didn't whimper. Even when thunder cracked the sky, he lay still. When Juana held him near the fire, he would stare into the flames for long moments, unblinking, solemn, like he saw stories hidden inside the heat. "He's such an easy baby," Tomba said proudly. Other children wail. Ours listens. But Moana felt something curl in her chest, something uneasy and cold. A baby should cry, should giggle, should shift in sleep and reach for warmth. But her son did none of that. He simply watched, as if waiting, as if remembering something he had no words for. And every time the wind passed through the hut at night, carrying the scent of river water and smoke, Moana felt her heart whisper a question she couldn't quiet. "What have I wrapped my child in?" At first, no one noticed. The baby remained quiet, too quiet, but the village praised Moana's good fortune. Women still came to see the child, offering gifts of beads, goat milk, and carved toys. They left smiling, saying, "This one will bring peace to your home." But peace does not always mean harmony. One evening, as the sun slipped behind the hills, Tomba brought a goat to the compound, a gift from his uncle. But when the goat saw the baby wrapped in the silver cloth, it froze. Its eyes widened. Then it let out a sharp, unnatural bleat and bolted from the yard, refusing to return. Later that week, Mama Dodi came to offer a blessing. As she leaned over the baby's mat, the mirror on the wall behind her cracked in two, sharp, loud, sudden. No one had touched it. The baby didn't blink, just stared at the ceiling. That night, under the pale moonlight streaming through the thatch, Moana awoke to check on her son. She gasped. His eyes, usually dark, now shimmered faintly. A soft, silvery glow pulsed in them, like the glint of fish scales underwater. It vanished as soon as she moved, but she had seen it, and she could not unsee it. Tomba grew worried. He searched the hut, hoping to understand what was happening. In a woven basket beneath old cloths, he found the receipt. Moana had hidden it. He pulled it out. The 5 red fingerprints were still there, but now they had turned black, dry, cracked, as if burned into the paper. The letters on the receipt shimmered, shifting shape when held to the light. Tomba brought it to the elders. One looked at the paper and frowned deeply. "This is not village ink," he said. "This is spirit binding." She brought city spirits into her hut. Moana sat in silence, her hands trembling. No one blamed her, at least not aloud. But eyes avoided hers. Doors that once opened now stayed shut. She rocked her baby gently that night, whispering a lullaby her grandmother used to sing. But the baby didn't respond, didn't blink, just stared into the dark. And for the first time, Moana felt truly afraid. The next morning, Moana rose before the sun. She wrapped her baby tight, this time in a plain cloth, not the silver one, and tied him to her back. Her eyes were wild with worry. Her feet moved fast, almost frantic, as she left the village behind. She didn't tell Tomba, didn't stop to eat, didn't look back. All she knew was one thing. She had to find that shop again. The road stretched long, the air heavy. Her baby didn't fuss, didn't move. The silence made her heart pound harder with every step. By midday, the city came into view. She turned onto the same street as before, the one with the golden sign and glass windows. But it was gone. Where tiny royal feet had once stood was now a crumbling fish market, its walls stained with old scales and smoke. The windows were cracked, the paint peeled, flies buzzed. Moana stood frozen. A woman sweeping the steps looked up. "You lost?" she asked. "There was a baby shop here," Moana said, "with a woman in a red dress, silver wraps." The woman laughed softly, confused. "There's never been a baby shop here. Not since I was a child. Just fish and bones." Moana's knees weakened. She clutched her baby tighter, feeling his chest rise and fall, but still without sound. She pressed her cheek to his head, tears slipping down her face. Regret, thick and sharp, settled deep in her bones. "Please," she whispered, "don't let it be too late." Word spread fast in Obiawasha that Moana's child never cried, never laughed, never moved unless lifted. Some said he was cursed. Others said he was blessed too deeply for this world. But Moana knew better. She felt the stillness grow heavier each day, like her son was slowly disappearing beneath a layer of something she couldn't touch or name. His eyes no longer followed hers. His hands no longer grasped. He was fading, and time was running out. One dawn, she wrapped him in the old cotton shawl and set out alone. She walked past the yam fields and through the whispering reeds, until the red path turned to mud. The sacred river lay just beyond, its waters moving slow and deep, like a resting spirit. At its edge stood a small hut covered in shells, feathers, and hanging gourds. The river priestess lived there, half blind, older than anyone could remember. Her hair was white, her eyes milky, but her voice still carried the strength of thunder. Moana bowed low and placed the baby before her. "Please," she said, "something is wrong. I need your help." The priestess reached out with trembling hands and placed her palms gently on the child's chest. Her touch lingered long, her head tilted as if listening to something beneath the skin. After a moment, she spoke. "This child is touched by silence, but not his own. He carries a quiet that was placed, not born." Moana's breath caught in her throat. "Can it be undone?" she asked. The priestess nodded slowly, but not with new hands. "You must return to the cloth your mother gave you, the one woven with names, not wires. Only that thread knows how to call him back." Moana swallowed hard. She remembered burying it beneath the baobab tree, thinking she'd never need it again. The priestess added one final warning. "But move with care. The longer the silence stays, the deeper it roots. You have days no more." Moana cradled her baby tighter, thanked the old woman with shaking hands, and turned toward home. This time, her steps were not hurried with fear, but driven by purpose. She would not lose her child to silence, not without a fight. By the time Moana returned to Obiawasha, dusk had begun to fall. The sky burned orange behind the hills, and the baobab tree stood tall and unmoving, its roots like sleeping serpents pressed into the earth. She didn't greet anyone, didn't explain. With her baby tied close to her chest, she walked straight to the tree, her step steady but heavy, like her soul carried stones. This was where she had hidden it, the old wrap, the spirit cloth her grandmother had blessed, the one she'd traded for shine and silence. She knelt by the tree's base and dug with her bare hands. The earth was cool, soft, forgiving. Her nails broke, her palms bled, but she didn't stop. Soon, her fingers found it. She pulled the cloth from the soil, damp, worn, but still whole. The colors were faded, but the scent of herbs and smoke still clung to it. A piece of her grandmother still lived in that fabric. Tears blurred her eyes as she sat beneath the tree, cradled by its shadow. She gently unwrapped her baby from the city cloth and whispered, "Forgive me, little one." Then slowly, she swaddled him in the ancestral wrap. The wind stirred, leaves rustled, and Moana began to sing. It was the song her grandmother had always sung to her, low, rhythmic, full of warmth and memory. A melody not written down, but carried in breath and blood. She rocked her child as the last line left her lips. And then it happened. The baby flinched. His small hands curled. His mouth opened wide. And he cried. A real cry. Loud and full of life. Not the silence of shadows or spirits, but the sharp, raw sound of a soul returning home. The village dogs barked. Birds startled from trees. Somewhere, a cooking pot clanged to the ground. But Moana only wept, holding her son tighter than ever before. He was back. Not quiet. Not distant. Back. She kissed his forehead and whispered, "Your name is yours again." Above them, the baobab tree stood tall, as if watching. as if remembering, as if saying, "The old ways do not forget those who return with a true heart." The next morning, the village gathered beneath the baobab tree. Word had spread that Moana's baby, once silent as a stone, had cried, laughed, moved. The elder women brought calabash bowls of palm oil and incense. Men tapped the talking drum gently, a rhythm of return. Children peeked from behind their mothers, curious and wide-eyed. Moana sat quietly, her baby nestled in her lap, now swaddled in the old wrap. His eyes blinked with wonder. His lips smacked as he nursed. No longer still, no longer distant. An elder with gray streaks in his beard stepped forward. His walking stick tapped the earth as he spoke. "You went seeking comfort," he said, voice deep and slow. "But you returned carrying silence. Let this child remind us all. Ancestral love cannot be bought. It is earned, remembered, and passed down like fire from hand to hand." Moana lowered her eyes. She didn't argue. She didn't explain. She didn't need to. She had learned. Behind the polished glass and glittering cloth, there had been emptiness. Beautiful, yes, but hollow. That night, as she sang once more by her cooking fire, her son began to hum along. Just a faint coo, like a flute beneath her voice. And for the first time, Moana smiled with her whole heart. Later, she whispered the words to herself like a prayer. Words she would someday pass to him when he was grown. The baby cried, not from pain, but because he finally felt home. Weeks passed, and life in Obio Asha slowly settled like dust after a storm. Moana's baby grew stronger, louder, alive in every way. Laughter returned to her hut, carried on the breeze like incense. But then came the whispers, low voices, hushed tones around water pots and cooking fires. The two city women who had mocked her, the ones with shiny strollers and singing mats, their babies had stopped breathing. Same week, same night, no warning, no cries, just silence. Their families buried them quietly. No public mourning, no drums, no naming rituals, only closed doors and heavy eyes. And then, something stranger still. Children playing near the edge of the village found cloths buried in shallow pits, silver, city-bought, crumpled and stained. Next to them, shattered mirrors lay like broken eyes, reflecting nothing. The elders said nothing at first, but one woman finally whispered, "Some spirits don't want to be wrapped in things that have no soul." No one spoke of it again, but from that day forward, the women of Obio Asha returned to their old cloths, their mother's songs, and the wisdom carried in worn threads. Because they had seen the price of forgetting, and it was silence.